Have you heard the latest buzz about coffee? This year, it's being touted as a health food. Coffee drinkers are rejoicing, but can we really believe what we've been hearing? To get the scoop, we talked with food scientist Manfred Kroger and asked him to tell us about the new coffee research. Who is finding out what and why?
Coffee research is funded by many groups, and coffee research is conducted all over the world, and the literature on coffee is immense. There are thousands of reprints that you could look into, and it is bewildering. And also the ups and downs of pros and cons is very astounding and very bewildering to the public, because one year it's bad for you, the next year it's good for you. Right now we're in an upswing and coffee suddenly is good for you.
In fact, it wouldn't be a stretch to say some are touting it as a health food.
Yes, we are living in the era of nutraceuticals, and in coffee you find not just the bitterness, the good aroma, the relaxation that comes with it. There are also antioxidants there. There are various other components in it. As a matter of fact, in the odor of coffee alone, there are some 1,000 different chemicals that have been identified. And then when you drink the coffee, you get another 1,000 different substances, and many are antioxidants, which are touted similar to vitamin C and vitamin E that most people are familiar with.
And in fact, it tops the lists of foods rich in antioxidants, above red wine, above chocolate, above green tea, things that things we've heard about for years.
Yes, this is very hard to do. What kind of tea are you looking at? What kind of chocolate are you looking at? The very dark is better than the white, which has hardly any antioxidants in it. Yes, these games are continuing and will continue. But what is really more important is, and what is bewildering to the public, who do you believe and what shall I do? And how much coffee is good for me and how much is bad for me? And the public ought to be educated, or should become literate about the scientific method, how a consensus develops. Because when the public, or when an individual, Joe Doe, the consumer, knows that science is constantly in a flux, and that what is true last year may not be true next year, when you grasp this, then you don't take health advice as a biblical truth.
But according to the largest studies both here and abroad, they consistently suggest that coffee has no bad cardiovascular effects, for example, even at 6 cups a day. And are cardiologists likely to reverse advice to patients to either eliminate or reduce coffee altogether as a result of these new findings?
Well, the 6 cups a day is rather high, although there are many people who consume that much. The general explanation of what is a normal dose stands at about 300 milligrams of caffeine a day, which is 3 normal cups of coffee. 3 cups like this, or 2 big ones like this, would be a normal intake. Even pregnant women who a few decades ago had been advised by the Food and Drug Administration not to consume any coffee or caffeine, period. Now the word is, well, no real harm is done. So up to 3 cups a day, which is 6 cans of soda with, or soda pop, depending where you are in Pennsylvania, which contains caffeine, can be consumed without any harm. Over 6 cups of coffee, or 12 cans of caffeinated soft drink, is a high intake. Now there are some people who can take a high intake, and there are some people very sensitive, I'm one of them, where half a cup of normal coffee will send them into jitters, and who can't fall asleep for the next 6 hours.
So it can be individual tolerance, something we all need to sort of test out for ourselves. Now, I want to bring up Terry Graham of the University of Guelph in Canada, who says that what caffeine does is stimulate the brain and the nervous system to respond differently. So, for example, your body may ignore fatigue, or different muscle units may come into play. And so this may, in the short term, be very good in getting you a good workout if you're exercising. But in the long term, according to an October 2005 U.S. News & World report, it can lead to chronic adrenal exhaustion. Some drinkers, as you said, can just get too charged.
This is a long story, requires a very long answer. The benefits of caffeine have been known for thousands of years. Lao Tse, who founded Taoism, told his monks, his holy men, to drink tea. And tea has been consumed for thousands of years, mainly because of this magic bullet to bring people back into a state of wakefulness. And that's why we drink coffee. And we discovered coffee here about 200, 300 years ago. And then about 200 years ago, we found out that the stuff that keeps you awake in coffee, which is called caffeine, which means in Greek something that is found in coffee, is also the same in tea. And now we find it in cocoa also. Of course, it's in the kola nut also, and 60 other plants. But let's stick to coffee, which is our major deliverer of caffeine. It has been recognized in our society for 200 years now that it is beneficial for the very reasons you just mentioned. It takes you back into a state of wakefulness. Your brain, well, the actual mechanism is we have a hormone that has a hypnotizing effect which puts us to sleep. You can see it in babies sometimes. You hold them, you feed the baby, and it falls asleep on you. It's the hormone doing its thing. Caffeine interferes with the action of this hormone and eclipses its effect. Therefore, this hypnotic falling asleep pattern is not manifested, and caffeine does its trick. Now comes the big paradox. Most people don't get enough sleep to begin with, which is probably the major health problem in the country, in the world. People deprive themselves of sleep. So we begin with sleep deprivation, but we must work. So we drink some coffee. We must drive, we must do routine tasks, we must keep awake. Everybody identifies with what I'm saying right now. So we drink some coffee, only worsening the sleep deprivation thing. But meanwhile, we are all astute, very creative. We can even do physical work much better. And then we have to go to bed. We sleep 4, 5, 6 hours, and then we start the cycle all over again. From a disease standpoint, there are some people that may suffer from not exactly addiction, from habituation, because there is a big controversy whether caffeine is an addictive drug or just a chemical that becomes a habit with us.
And unfortunately, we're out of time, but thank you so much for talking with us.
We could go on for another week on this topic.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
A copy of the program you've just seen can be purchased through Penn State Media Sales at mediasales.psu.edu or by calling 800-770-2111.